You can take a deep breath now. The Bears avoided the trap game, and boy, did they ever come out firing on all cylinders, taking down the Cleveland Browns in Week 15 by a score of 31-3. Just an absolute drumming of the Browns in Week 15 as the Bears, for the third time in the history of the franchise, have a first-year coach that has double-digit wins in his first season, joining Matt Nagy and George Papa Bear Halas. How about that? Welcome on in to the Bear Report Rapid Recap. I'm Steven Johnson. He is Zach Pearson. And Zach, I tell you, we were both concerned last week with this potentially being a game. The Bears come out a little bit flat. There were even a couple pundits nationally that said, you know what? Shedeur Sanders is going to outplay Caleb Williams. And ha.
Crazy, man. What the hell are people talking about with that? That was crazy. No, man. And like we said, no matter what, if the Bears won this game, first place in the NFC North would be on the line Saturday against the Green Bay Packers. And not only did they win the game, right after the Packers lost at Denver, the Lions had a lead on the Rams, were moving the football, and they lost as the Rams came back. The only thing that would have been sweeter would have been Seattle losing to the Colts, but that didn't happen. But, I mean, it was
Close.
Close. It was a perfect day, essentially, for the Bears. They are now in control of the NFC North by a half game, and Saturday will be winner takes it right now, or winner takes the lead, and then they're the number 2 seed in the NFC right now, I believe.
That they are. They're feeling good, and you can't blame them. Things moved as smoothly as they possibly could have today for the Bears, all things considered. And we'll get into a little bit of it later, but man, you walk in with kind of this unknown because it was such a big week across the NFC with all of these other teams and playing some, pretty interesting matchups. I don't think anybody knew what to expect out of a 44-year-old Phillip Rivers going into Seattle. They come within just, 30 seconds of potentially sneaking out of there with a shocking victory and really throwing everything into a tizzy when you have, again, the Lions losing, the Packers losing. The Niners had a fight there for a bit with the Titans before they pulled away. And next week you got Rams Seattle. So again, there is a team that is going to lose ground. And the Bears, meanwhile, are sitting here saying, okay, we just need to keep winning. And if we keep winning, we'll be in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. They went out, they're gonna win the division. They're gonna make the playoffs. I think the magic number Ben Johnson keeps saying is 11. They're at 10. First time 10 wins since 2018. You look at it and they win, they get to 11, they should be fine, but there's a scenario where, they could get 11 wins and not get in. But you get to 12, I feel like if you win 3, or if you win 2 of these next 3 games, you should be in. And if you lose out on a tiebreaker or another team that has 12 wins or 11 wins, then so be it. It's a successful season in my eyes, but they're doing what they have to do, man. They came out, it was 14-0. The offense went in a lull, 5 straight possessions of not scoring on offense. And then, bam, the defense gets a couple takeaways. They're moving the football up and down the field. Caleb Williams is accurate for the most part. I know he only completed 60% of his passes, but at least 4 or 5 of them had to be, drops. So we'll see. We'll see how it all, takes shape here. But yeah, another big one coming up on Saturday. But to get to that, you had to win this game.
Absolutely. As the playoff picture as it stands right now, the Bears in the 2 slot behind the Los Angeles Rams, as whoever wins that Rams-Seahawks battle next week will catapult themselves to the number 1 seed in the NFC. The Bears will stand pat regardless. They will need both of those teams to lose at least 1 game before everything is said and done. But the crazy thing, given everything that's occurred right now, is that the Lions are now sitting at 8-6. And with that, if the Lions lose one of their 3 games, and obviously the Bears take on the Lions in week 18, you don't want to necessarily come down to that for a playoff spot. But the Steelers and Vikings the next 2 weeks for the Lions, if they lose one of those 2 and the Bears win one of their next 2, the Bears clinch a playoff spot. That is the scenario right now. Things fell as probably well as they could when it comes to what the Bears needed out of today. So got to feel good about that. And let's shift back focus here to the game today, because just utter dominance out of the gate for the Bears. Running down the stats for today, Caleb Williams, 17 of 28 for 242 yards and 2 touchdowns. That is a 112 quarterback rating. DeAndre Swift, a great day on the ground for him, 18 carries, 98 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Kyle Monangai, kind of a quieter day. It wasn't as much of a split as we've seen the last couple weeks, 11 carries for 33 yards, and then Luther Burden leading the way through the air, 6 catches for 84 yards. DJ Moore, 4 catches for 69 yards and 2 touchdowns. So a week removed from a game in which he had negative yards on 1 catch, and all of a sudden he's looking like an integral part of this offense, when Rome Odunze, we have almost deja vu occur in the warm-ups to what Kyler Gordon happened last week, where all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's not playing today. And everyone's just kind of left saying, what the hell just occurred?
Well, yeah, I mean, first off, that was shocking again, because, you know, he's got the heel injury and you think he's good to go, and then he doesn't, you know, gets hurt in warm-ups. So, yeah, I mean, okay, you look at it this way. With the Bears and with Ben Johnson, the one thing he's been pretty straightforward about is, like, when he's talking about stuff in the media, it's going to happen. Like, you hear about the whole DJ Moore stuff all week on, is he going to get more targets? We're going to get him more targets. And what do? They come out and DJ Moore has a solid game, you know, 4 catches, 69 yards, something, 49 yards,
yep,
whatever it was, 2 touchdowns. But he was way more active in the offense. And I think with Rome Odunze out, DJ Moore had to step up. Luther Burden had to step up. And then you see Luther Burden get hurt. So, yeah, you know, it was good to see DJ step up. And man, those 2 touchdowns he had, the first one, a beautiful route. That was a great throw. And the second one was one of those, no. Okay, that's a great play.
and we got to talk about that, because on the broadcast, there were a couple of these plays today. There were 3 defenders around Caleb, or around DJ Moore. Caleb Williams rolling out to the right. You're thinking, okay, what is he going to do? Is he going to take it and is he going to run? Is he just going to throw it into a tight window? He goes for the tight window. It did not look like that was a completed pass at first. And then all of a sudden, the players split, and here's DJ Moore holding a ball in the end zone. And you had retweeted earlier in the evening today the picture on the back end of that play of DJ going above all of the defenders. And man, I tell you, the fact that even was a touchdown, I'm still trying to comprehend how he got the ball there, because percentage-wise, I have a feeling it was easily 3% or less on completion, just based on the stats that we see from Next Gen with the NFL. Zach, you're muted, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know why it keeps muting. It literally keeps muting my damn thing. I don't know why. Yeah, you said the Next Gen, right? That they yeah. Did you see that what it was?
I did not. I have not been able to track it down. I feel like they should have put it out already.
16%, 16.1%.
Man, I thought it would have been less than that.
Yeah, 16.1% on the pass to DJ, the second touchdown. Had a completion probability of 16.1%, the most improbable completion by a Chicago Bears quarterback over the last 5 seasons. So, yeah, not too much to write home about, though, because the last 5 years were not very good for quarterback play. But yes, it was a crazy play. Like, I sitting there watching, I'm like, oh man, I was like, that's got to be picked off. and then it's caught for a touchdown. And then, the ensuing drive, Jaylon Johnson picks off a ball without looking, and you're like, what the heck? Like, what is going? Like a magnet to these guys' hands or something like that.
and even that one, you look at that and you say to yourself, okay, it's a touchdown. Like, move on. 21-9, 10 after the extra point, and then all of a sudden, here's Jaylon Johnson running out the back of the end zone with the ball, and you're just kind of like, what? Like, did that just occur? It's nice to see that happen, and yes, we know it's the Browns. It's not like they're doing this to a team that is known for their discipline on the field, that there are these all-pro players, but at the same time, you have to sit here and say they did something today that I think a lot of people were not necessarily expecting them to do, but they needed to do. That they went up against a 3-win football team and just spanked them.
Yeah.
And said, okay, you know what? We are a legitimate double-digit winning NFL franchise in 2025. We're not a run-of-the-mill fake squad here that's playing pretender. They made a statement, and they did it in a game that these other teams that we see across the league, I mean, the Eagles are a perfect example today too.
Yeah.
They've been struggling. They go out against the Las Vegas Raiders and just thwomp them 31-0. And the Bears were able to do something similar today.
Well, I think the last couple of weeks have shown the Bears, over these last 3 games you're on a road game in Philadelphia, a standalone game, prime time, the entire nation's watching. You're coming off, a tough win over the Steelers. You beat the Eagles. Then you go to Green Bay on a Sunday game that's flexed to the national game on Fox. And you terrible first half, and you're an interception at the end from beating the Packers or tying. I'm pretty sure they would have gone for 2, so it
probably.
Yes. And then you come home, and now you beat a team. You avoid the trap game, but you beat a team with Myles Garrett, who has, it's just unreal, chasing the sack record. And you did what you're supposed to do. So I think these last couple of weeks, despite it being 2-1 and you do have a loss in there, I think they show they can play with a lot of teams in the NFL, and they should be taken serious. Now, are they a legit Super Bowl contender? I don't think so. I would say probably the Rams in the NFC are probably the best team. I think the AFC's, got it. It's pretty wide open, but I think the Rams are better. You got a couple other teams. Playing Philly again in the playoffs wouldn't be easy.
No.
The Seahawks defense is pretty damn good. 49ers look pretty good. The Packers already beat you. That's a game that, probably could go either way in the playoffs, depending on home field. So I wouldn't say they're the favorite right now or close by any means, but they're proving that they belong, at least in the conversation of playoffs, and hopefully they can get there now.
And on top of that, knowing that these next 3 weeks, really, the Packers, 49ers, and Lions, I mean, that's 3 teams that are in this playoff hunt right now and are going to try and factor into how teams rank when everything is said and done. I mean, heck, regardless of what has occurred tonight with the Packers and it being reported that Micah Parsons tore his ACL, he's done for the season. Like, talk about just an absolute blow.
What a bad day for injuries.
Oh my gosh! Patrick Mahomes down.
Mahomes.
You have
Davante Adams.
Davante Adams with his hamstring again, and then with Micah Parsons and a couple other Smones, he had a player carted off the field in the Cardinals Texans game today. I mean, it was a very odd injury day overall with big names and really the cold factored into a little bit, I would have to imagine as well, where, you just feel the sting a little bit more. You saw a lot of players limping off the field. Like we mentioned, Luther Burden, Cole Kmet had a bit of a stinger on his ankle in the game today. So again, another one where you have to sit here and kind of say, okay, what are we looking at long-term? What exactly, are the Bears going to have going into a short week? It is a Saturday night game against the Packers. Packers are 3.5-point favorites. That's the line starting. It doesn't matter that, they lost their best defensive player. Usually you get that 3-point buffer as the home team, but the Packers still favored by 3. So I'm curious to see how everything gets affected moving forward here over this week and seeing, where the Bears are from a health standpoint with the stingers that they had. Is Rome Odunze going to sit out another week with re-aggravating his foot injury? There's so many what ifs and question marks right now to how not only next week against the Packers is going to go, but this just rest of the stretch in general. I mean, Kyler Gordon's on the IR again. Not ideal. Yeah. I mean, hell, the Packers could even be without Christian Watson for a long time. He left the game today and supposedly was checked out at a hospital. So, I mean, you have a lot of question marks to how things are going to shift.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you can't blame anyone for what your schedule is. Yeah, the Bears have a fourth place schedule. They have an easier schedule. They're not gonna, they're not gonna complain about that. They shouldn't. So, but yeah, I mean, it just goes back to, like I said, they won the game today. They played well. I think overall, Caleb Williams played really well. Was not helped by some drops early on. There was a misassignment on one. I think it was Manungai or no, Zacchaeus missed a block. And if he makes that block, I think it was Colson Loveland's probably scoring on that play. There were a couple drops. I know Manungai had a drop. I think Burden had one. Moore might have had one. I know Loveland had one. Yeah, I mean, again, you want the completion percentage to get up a little more. But Ben Johnson said he's seeing strides, and that's all we can do is trust Ben Johnson. And when your quarterback's playing like this, and it's a over 100 passer rating, 2 touchdowns, over 200 passing yards, and most importantly, 0 turnovers. Again, I mean that's impressive. And I'll throw a stat at you here. Caleb Williams now has, let's see, I just have in my calculator, 6,691 passing yards in his career, and he has passed Justin Fields on the Bears passing yards list. Justin Fields 6,674 in multiple seasons. Caleb Williams just a 2. So yeah, if they would have taken the haul, you and I'd be pretty upset on this podcast. They'd probably be having like a 10-6 loss to the Browns right now or something like that.
Yeah, it's purgatory to say the least. Yeah, that is 10th most all time in Bears history at the QB position. And I tell you, you'd have to be a diehard Bears fan to know the other names on this list outside of, the top 5, 6 maybe. Jay Cutler leads that list with 23,000. So still a bit of ways to go for Caleb Williams, but well on his way, all things considered. And beyond that, he is the first QB in NFL history, 1,000 pass attempts. He has the fewest number of interceptions in his first 1,000 pass attempts of any QB ever in the NFL. Think about that. The fewest interceptions in the first 1,000 career pass attempts. Just an insane number. And, it's crazy to think that for all of the heat that he's getting, and obviously, like you said, the completion percentage, and today being the first day in, I'm trying to remember how many years, or how many games, see what we got here. First time in 7 games, Williams completed more than 60% of his passes today, which isn't great. But flip side of that, silver lining of that, second highest rating against the Browns defense in the past 10 weeks with that 112 quarterback rating. Only Drake May's 135 has been better. So it's a very good defense. And they called that out during the broadcast as well, saying that this was the number 3 defense in the NFL, despite only having won 3 games because of a porous offense. It's still a very formidable team. And obviously, when you have a guy that in week 15 is, a sack away from tying the record for most in a season, that's a pretty darn good defense.
And they did a solid job on him. Like he was going to get, you just kind of felt like he was going to get a sack. He beat Ozzie once or twice to get a sack. What do you have? 1.5, I think.
For Myles, he got downgraded to the 2 to 1.5.
Yeah. Which now he needs what? He needs 1.5 to break it. He needs 1 to tie it or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, they did a pretty solid job, I thought. And again, I like that they stuck to the run game. Even though the offense was moving the football through the air at times, but then when they stalled, they went back to that run. They had that long drive. Fortunately, they didn't get points. Carlos Santos missed a field goal, but you could tell they're kind of turning. And then the takeaways came, and it was like it just rejuvenated this entire team. And now you have 30 takeaways on the year as a defense, which is
insane.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, what a job Al Harris was doing.
Seriously, and seeing him so amped up on the sidelines, and they talked about the interception bin in the secondary room. Just so much fun to see the bond that he has with those corners and the safeties, and I fear he's not going to be around long because he's going to get a defensive coordinator job at some point, which is going to make me very upset when that does happen, because I loved him as a player, even though he was a Packer for many years. He's just so much fun to watch, and he gets it. And the fact that it's the same thing with, oh man, now I'm going to blank on his name, wide receiver coach,
Antoine
Randall. I mean, same thing there, where he's just really just passing down everything, and you see the electrifying nature he brings to the field on the sideline as their coach. It's just so much fun. And I think really there's only a couple things that bother me at this point in time for what the Bears have been doing, and we talked about one on Wednesday, the explosive plays that the Bears allow. And Isaiah Bond, who is a speedster, he has been a heck of a player at the collegiate level at Texas. Today, he has 2 catches for 89 yards, just burning down the middle of the field. And you can't help but feel like any team that has a speedster, and specifically looking to next week with, maybe Christian Watson, maybe not, and then in 2 weeks with Williams on the Lions, I'm scared to death that the Bears still don't have that part figured out, because that was on full display. That's really the only offense that the Browns had today. They had 89 yards. Shedeur Sanders essentially had 50% of his yards on 2 passes today.
Yeah. Yeah, and it felt like it was like everything else that Shedeur was throwing was short. They were ducks. They were inaccurate. It was bad. And then he connects on 2 throws. One he beat Byard, Isaiah Bond, right? And the second one he beat Jalen Johnson. And Bond is a speedster, but you have to find a way to combat that. And we saw against Green Bay when they lined up Christian Watson against C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and as good as C.J. Gardner-Johnson's been, he doesn't have that speed against Christian Watson or Isaiah Bond. And you're going to see Jameson Williams at the end of the year. You'll see a couple of these guys coming up. I'm trying to think if San Francisco has any. Juwan Jennings, yeah. And Ricky Pearsall's a really good route runner. I mean, he's not going to beat you with speed, but he's a really good route runner. So, yeah, they got to kind of figure that out in the secondary. And part of this is, like I said, you don't apologize for wins, but I felt like in the middle of that, when the Bears had the 14-0 lead and they just couldn't get it to 3 scores, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, thank God it's the Browns, because if it was any other team, this is a tie game or they're potentially trailing. But and then the defense answers the bell. But it kind of feels like that defense vibes off of each other. Like when they get going, and you could kind of see it was like blood in the water. It was Sharks hunting Shedeur. They got the first sack, and then it kind of came after that. And Austin Booker had 2. Montez Sweat was getting pressures. I think Grady Jarrett got one. Or got in for one. And the interceptions. So, yeah, it just feels like when they're getting takeaways and they're getting to the quarterback and getting sacks, they get that football to the offense, and the offense can move the football like they have been. Like I said, they could play with anyone, man. They could really play with anyone.
Yeah, I mean, 3 interceptions and 5 sacks today. Just an incredible day for the Bears defense overall. I don't want to beat the drum on this just yet. I'm getting really close. Okay. Just watching him mesh with that defense, and the fact that that interception for DeMarco Jackson today was so pivotal. And they even said it in the locker room with the post-game speech around the team and the game balls and the good, better, best. that I am leaning once Tremaine Edmunds gets healthy, you need to give DeMarco Jackson a hard look at starting next to Tremaine Edmunds and TJ Edwards.
Oh yeah.
And putting Noah Sewell on the bench as your backup linebacker. That's about where I'm at with the way that Jackson has stepped up, and he has gotten progressively better every week at everything on the field.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he looks better in coverage. He's a little faster. Yeah, I agree. I would probably give DeMarco Jackson a look. And like you said, man, like that interception changed things because that was the Caleb Jerome touchdown right after it, and it kind of got them going. But yeah, DeMarco Jackson has played well. I mean, he's not a linebacker you want to fully rely on, to be your star for the next couple of years. But playing him alongside Tremaine Edmunds when you get him back and TJ Edwards, I think that's a good deal for the Bears if they could get that.
Yeah, I mean, DeMarco Jackson, 7 tackles today. TJ Edwards with 9, leading the way. Just a fantastic day all around for the defense. Just so much to talk about. And even guys on here where you have, like you mentioned, Austin Booker with 2 sacks. He just needs to get some consistency going. I tell you, his snap to sack seconds need to get a little bit more consistent and a little bit more lower. And the same thing. Somebody posted this. Gervon Dexter's snap to sack this year is like almost 6 seconds. Like he needs to wait for that QB to hold on to the ball for so damn long. But it's a good thing to know that, if there are quarterbacks holding on to the ball that long, that means the secondary is doing their job. So there's this tit for tat in regards to that stat, kind of like how Caleb holds onto the ball, and we all know that a lot of that has to do with his rollouts. But it was a feel good performance all around.
And sometimes, dude, like I get it. Like a lot of people like the analytics, a lot of people like the stats. That's fun. I love stats. I love the analytics part of it as well. But it's the eye test too. You can only go out there and play who you're playing. You know what I mean? Exactly. You could say the DVOA, the completion percentage over expected, all this stuff, all the PFF stuff. And not, if you want to use it, that's fine. But it's like every week, it's all the Bears are dead last in this. The Bears are dead last in that. Look at this, look at that. And it's like, they're winning games. I couldn't care less. They could not care less either. And like Bellissimo said here, I mean, what a day to be a Bears fan. When's the last time like we felt this good about a playoff race, scoreboard watching at the end, of a game?
2018.
Yeah.
It is 2018. Even in 2020, when they snuck in.
They got let in, essentially.
Yeah, they got let in. No one was excited about that game against the Saints. Nobody.
It was bad. It was bad football.
Right.
They lost the Packers that week right before. Remember that?
Yep.
All they had to do was win to get in, and they could have just – I mean, even, 2 years ago, you're sitting there, and it's week, last week of the season, and I'll never forget, we were up at Soldier Field, and the Bears game was over. They lost. All they needed was Houston to win to clinch the number 1 seat, the number 1 pick. And like that scoreboard watching was like, but you don't want that. You want scoreboard watching. You want the Rams to beat the Lions. You want the Packers to lose to the Broncos because it benefits you in terms of the playoffs. So it's been a long time since we've had anything like this. And it just feels good, man. It feels good to be talking about a team like this.
Right. And to know that, again, the Bears control their own destiny. At this point, they were handed a lot of help today from across the NFL in making sure they're able to clinch that a lot quicker than waiting until week 18 when they've played all 3 games. Yes, the most difficult stretch of the season is coming up right now. They're in the thick of it now with the Packers, the Niners, and the Lions. But having the Lions lose, having the Packers lose, huge. And we talked about it a little bit before we came on. The opportunistic aspect of this season where the Bears, they've dodged Joe Burrow with the Bengals. They're about to dodge Micah Parsons, potentially Christian Watson with the Packers next week with devastating injuries that you hate to see because you want to beat a team at full strength to say, we got you. We got you. And exactly. We almost did. And now you take away such a huge portion of the Packers pass rush, and the guy that burned you last week down the field for those big plays. Those are game-changing situations that just occurred today affecting next Saturday night, which is nuts that the Bears have kind of fallen into, I'll be honest, it feels like a state of luck almost that they've been able to avoid this. But exactly, you play whoever is in front of you. That's all it comes down to, and you need to beat whoever is in front of you. They dodged Aaron Rodgers with the Steelers earlier this year. They dodged Lamar Jackson. Didn't help. They still lost to the Ravens. But they have had this knack this year of either seeing opposing players in the game or prior to the game get injured that would have made major changes to how the game's outcome currently ends up. And you just have to take advantage of the cards you're dealt with. And the Bears, I think, realize that and just need to go out and finish the job. Like you said, Johnson said 11 games. 11 games is staring at him Saturday night. Yeah,
well, there are two things on that. The flip side, teams have gone up against the Bears without Jalen Johnson, without Kyler Gordon.
Exactly.
Without Rome Odunze now for a game or two here. And it just is what it is. Injuries are in the NFL. You benefit from them some years, you don't. So, and with Ben Johnson, I loved his post game today. Did you see what he said after? Like, it was one of the questions where, excuse me, he's talking about 10 wins or getting there. And I think he says it's not enough. Like, it's not enough. The job's not done. Yeah, we can celebrate. We can love the locker room celebration. We can be happy. Like, it's great, like you said, but it's not enough. 10 wins is not going to get you into the playoffs. No, it's not.
Absolutely,
you got to go out and take care of business now.
And I tell you, seeing, and we haven't even talked about just a very blunt response from Caleb Williams in the post game today, when he was asked about that DJ Moore touchdown that again we talked about, where he's just like, I can make any throw. Today was that confidence boosting game that of all players on the field, I think Caleb Williams needed to know that he has what it's going to take to move this team down the field, score points with regularity. Because obviously the last couple weeks, there's been a little hit or miss aspect to that. And I tell you, it was good to see there was more poise. It felt like there was more poise today from him in seeing just the array of plays he was able to make, both on the run, in the pocket. Obviously, Colston Loveland was big today. Luther Burden was big today. DJ Moore was big today. And then you sit here and say, now what happens when Rome Odunze does get back into the mix? And the amount of opportunities that are going to exist, getting him involved and making this such a more prolific offense through the air, just increasing what Caleb Williams believes he can do even more. Because obviously, his belief is sky high in what both he and this offense is capable of.
Luther Burden looks like he's on the verge of becoming a star in the NFL.
100%.
He is that damn, he is good, man. And they had a plan for him when they drafted him to come along. They knew they had DJ Moore. They knew they had Rome Odunze. Zacchaeus was always going to be that third wide receiver to start. And they said, we don't have to rush Luther Burden out there. We can develop him and stick to our plan. What Antoine Randall wants to do, what Ben Johnson wants to do, what Declan Doyle wants to do with him. And it's worked. Dude, he had 6 catches for 84 yards, 7 on 7 targets. And he got hurt in the third quarter. He probably would have had
end of the third.
Yeah, probably would have come close to 100 yards receiving. And it's not only when he catches the ball, it's weird. He's not as fast as Tyreek Hill, but those juke moves that Tyreek Hill used to have, it feels like he's got a little bit of that in him. I'm not saying he's Tyreek Hill at all, but he put on a couple moves today where you're like, oh, wow, okay. This guy, he's got some juice. And I'm excited. I think we could look into a 2028 season, or 2027, 2026, maybe probably 2027, where he's the star of this offense besides Caleb Williams. Like, I think that's how good he can actually be if he stays healthy.
I would agree with that. The spin move that he put on the Browns secondary and picking up, I believe it was 15 yards, just incredible after the catch awareness that you just don't see. And it's funny because back during the draft, we talked about how the Bears were frustrated that they got sniped on running backs leading up to that pick, where Quinshon Judkins off the board, Travion Henderson off the board, and they're sitting here saying, what do we do? And here's Luther Burden. May I remind you, a year ago, this was a guy talked about as a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. He doesn't have a great season at Mizzou, still very solid, but not the greatest season. He falls. He was considered a borderline to late first-round pick, and he falls. And the Bears scoop up quite arguably the best value they are ever going to get throughout this entire rebuilding process because of it. And we're sitting here thinking, oh no, who's going to be our running back? Here's a 7th round pick who is busting his ass. You have the resurrection of DeAndre Swift, and now you have a guy that you say, well, thank goodness the board ended up that way, because Luther Burden is a bona fide stud for this league come these next couple years and what we've seen on the field.
Well, and the crazy thing is, like, the Packers took Matthew Golden over him. Like, you look at the wide receivers that went before Luther Burden. You get Travis Hunter. Okay, we knew that was going to happen. T-Mac McMillan in Carolina, who's been fantastic. He looks like he's going to be a stud. No problems with that. Then you got Ibuka, who's had a solid
pretty good
hot start. He's pretty good. Matthew Golden's really struggled. He went 23rd. And imagine Luther Burden on the Packers. Like, that would have been.
No, I don't want to think
Jaden
about that.
Higgins went to Houston, and I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think that's not a great pick right now, right? At the end of the first round, he's not awful. Second round.
Yeah, he definitely kind of reset the board for the second round. It was his contract that was fully guaranteed.
That's right,
which had never been done before for a second round pick, and then all of a sudden it ruined other teams signing their second round picks, which is hilarious because it was just it was a difference maker. Right now, Jaden Higgins, 36 catches for 397 yards and 4 touchdowns. He had some big games with Davis Mills as the quarterback.
Okay.
It's funny. Yeah. It's been harder for him to create a rapport with CJ Stroud than it has been the backup. And then you have Luther Burden, 36 catches, 479 yards and 1 touchdown. So yardage and receptions, they're about neck and neck. Burden's got about 80 or so plus more yards. So all things considered, I think that they're also on 2 different trajectories, because you also have to look at Jaden Higgins being a guy that's been starting all year for the Houston Texans as their wide receiver too. And meanwhile, like you said, there's a plan in place for Luther Burden being able to get his feet wet. He was dealing with some injuries in camp, and now all of a sudden we're starting to see the fruits of the labor come to a head with what he's doing on the field these last couple of weeks and being able to take advantage of the opportunity with Rome Odunze being out with the injury.
Yeah. Well, and look at this. If the Patriots didn't take Travion Henderson at 38 and they didn't take Luther Burden, there's a good shot the Bears get Henderson at 39 and Luther Burden at 41, because they're probably not trading with Buffalo.
Because Tyler Shuck went to the Saints. At the
Saints weren't good. Yeah, they weren't going to take a wide receiver, which would have been interesting. Nothing against Kamanungai, but like Travion Henderson has that. He's the home run hitter. But then again, you wipe away the other trade with Buffalo and all that, and you kind of don't know what you got. So it worked out. But yeah, I mean, Luther Burden, to me, it feels like he's going to be just an absolute stud. And how about DeAndre Swift running today? I mean, before we go, we probably should talk about. I mean, he had a hell of a game too.
He continues to show that it's all about the system and the coaching. I think he's been the biggest benefactor to everything outside of Caleb. When it comes to what he's been able to do this year and what we saw last year with him in a Bears uniform, because he just continues to show like he's not washed. He's ready to go. He knows what's up. He knows what he needs to do. You look at last year, he ends the season with, a respectable 959 yards and 6 touchdowns. And then this year, he's almost at his total. Actually, he might be over his total because this doesn't include. Did he miss a game this year? Yeah, he missed a game this year.
Yeah, he missed one. Yeah.
So he is at 935 yards. So he is 24 yards behind all of last year in 4 less games and has 1 more touchdown. Think about that.
And splitting carries too.
And splitting carries. He has 191 carries. Last year, he had 253. He averaged 3.8 last year. He's averaging 4.9 this year. That is the turnaround of turnarounds. And then even receiving the ball, he's doing great there. 254 yards on 29 catches. He's doing great. And to think that, all the talk was, he had his best season with Ben Johnson in Detroit when he was there and yada, yada, yada. And he really didn't have that great. He only had 1,000-yard season. That was his lone season in Philadelphia 2 years ago when he ran for 1,049 yards and a 4.6 clip and 5 touchdowns. So, I mean, we're talking about DeAndre Swift more than likely setting a career best in yardage in his 6th season in the league. He's only 6 years in. And I don't think that's the thing people realize is you look at him, you're like, yeah, he's a vet. He's been around. He gets it. It's only been 6 years. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, he's still got a lot of juice left. And I was critical on him. A lot of people are critical on him. But, I mean, he turned in a pretty damn good game again today. And then having him with Monangai has just been it's been a good combination for the Bears.
Absolutely. You look to it was even brought up on the broadcast today, the Sonic and Knuckles that they had going on with Gibbs and Montgomery in Detroit and still do. And you look at this where, Ben Johnson kind of has his own little creation of that. Obviously not as electric as what, Jahmyr Gibbs is, because he's clearly arguably the best running back in the NFL right now with how explosive he is on the ground. And he was kind of bottled up today, which honestly kind of shocked me. But having a shifty running back like DeAndre Swift who excels in those zone running schemes and is getting the benefit of just fantastic offensive line play that we cannot say enough good things about this year, it makes you say, okay, we're talking about him as a cut candidate earlier this season. I wouldn't touch him. I mean, that's somebody where you say, okay, let's move on to the next guy that makes sense, because you do not want to mess with the vibe that this running game has built and will hopefully be even better next year when Kyle Monangai gets another season under his belt.
In the offensive lines together, and Ben Johnson's still got a system here. Yeah, no, exactly. I agree. I'm excited. I'm excited for that. And guess what? It's cold. It's going to be cold the rest of the way. You're going to need a strong running game. And you got some, they're going to have a run game that's better than what it was in week 2 going into Detroit. And that should benefit them. They're going to have a run game that could open up some things against the San Francisco defense. And, we already saw what they did the second half against the Packers with that run game. So they're going to have the run game is going to play very key down the stretch here for the Bears.
That it is. And given the fact that the Packers defense is going to look a lot different without having Micah Parsons on the edge, the San Francisco 49ers in 2 weeks have dealt with a myriad of defensive injuries. Fred Warner being out, Nick Bosa also being out as well. It's just one thing after another that they've also been struggling with. And so the Bears just need to continue to take advantage of what's put in front of them and work to their strength. Don't keep trying to reinvent the wheel when the wheel doesn't need to be reinvented. Saw that a couple times today, and it's like, all right, let's get back to it. We're getting too fancy on this. Come on.
But we trust Ben to get back. Unlike last couple years.
Yeah, and as it normally has worked this season, they come out of halftime, they make incredible adjustments, and they look like a completely different team. They have been fantastic in doing that. And you just hope that that trend continues and they just start to get things figured out in the first half as well. So we'll see what ends up happening. Right now, the forecast for next Saturday night at Soldier Field, a high of 40 on Saturday. So it's going to be a lot warmer than what it was this afternoon at Soldier Field, a low of 27. So you can probably aim for that low 30s aspect by kickoff at 7 o'clock. A big game. It's going to be on Fox.
Yeah.
Prime time. Oh, man. It's
yeah.
Ooh. Then Sunday Night Football the week after. How about that?
Yeah. Yep.
Just two primetime games. Could see a third primetime game against the Lions. There's a lot on the line these next 3 weeks. But I think what we learned today is Ben Johnson is not going to let this team look ahead and get out in front of their skis by any means. And this is a team hungry for some revenge after last week. And we'll see if they can do just that next Saturday night. That's going to do it here for the Bear Report Rapid Recap. 31-3. Bears take down the Cleveland Browns, move to 10-4. Again, the first time since Matt Nagy in 2018 that a first year coach has double-digit wins, joining George Halas as the only other Bears coach in team history with the ability to say that. And we'll see if they can move to 11 wins. That's that magic number. Can they make it happen? We'll find out, and we'll be here to break everything down for Packers Week Part 2 later this week right here on the Bear Report. So be sure to tune in for that, and thank you all for listening and joining us for this episode. We'll talk to you later this week. Take care.
Later.
Good, better, bad! Good, better, bad! Never let it run! Never let it run! Good gets better! Good gets better! Anybody gets better! Anybody gets better! Bears on 3, 1, 2, 3, Bears!